Euromaxx highlights. Coming up on the show, photo finish. World-renowned portrait photographer Giselle Freund is celebrated in Berlin. Fitting farewell. Austrian pianist Alfred Brendel just gave his last concert in Vienna. Fashion fads. Pre-collections are a big hit for top fashion labels. Euromaxx highlights. And here's your host, Robin Merrill.
Hello and welcome to the programme from here in the German capital. Over 40% of the world's cognac is sold through the Hennessy company today. But one of the current heirs to the family business, Killian Hennessy, has gone into another side of the luxury market. He's the creator of some very exclusive perfumes and hopes to emulate his forebear's success with these very special aromas.
These flasks are as seductive as the perfumes they hold. Le Tout Paris has succumbed to the scent of luxury fragrances by Kilian. Each bottle bears his name, Killian Hennessy. The 35-year-old Frenchman certainly knows how to market himself. He has conspired with the world's largest perfume laboratory, Givaudan, in Paris, to create his debut collection. His goal is to bring something new to the highly competitive market for fragrances. Striking essences like lavender and patchouli provide the base for his scents.
For example, one of my perfumes is called A Taste of Heaven. Absinthe Vert. It's a combination of lavender and vanilla with 50% pure essence of lavender. The high concentration also gives the perfume its green color. You can sense this pure essence right away. The scent is much more sophisticated and has more nuances. It also lasts longer. If you spray it on clothing, you can still smell it a week later.
Killian Hennessy spent 12 years working for perfumes famous labels like Dior and Armani. In 2007, he created his own brand by Kilian. Since 1765, the Hennessy name has been synonymous with premium cognac. So creating a perfume with this name seemed a risky idea.
My family was a bit apprehensive at first. Only my grandfather was excited and wanted to know everything about it. That's probably because he and I both bear the Kilian name, but also because he's the one who built up the company again after the end of the Second World War. He had to reopen factories and open up new markets, just as I'm having to do now with my products, going around knocking on the doors of the big department stores.
Killian Hennessy finds inspiration for the names of his perfumes in literature and rap music. One is called Liaison Dangereuse, typical me.
The name of a perfume is for me what a film script is for a film director. It puts a process into motion inside me. I work like a poet or a writer does. At night I sit down, listen to music and read poetry. Then I articulate words and start telling stories with them.
A package to open. And engraved bottles. Killian Hennessy has a knack for upgrading his products. All the bottles are made by hand, and most of them are in cool black. This is one exception. 50 of these were hand-painted by Henri Matisse's great-granddaughter Sophie. Such limited editions have increased the demand for Killian Hennessy's perfumes.
A great perfume consists of many elements. It's the combination of a good name, like Shalimar or Le Bleu, a good story, and a flask designed by an artist. It's my ambition to revive these perfume styles, so I asked a real artist to decorate my bottles.
Killian Hennessy wants to conquer the market for perfumes, but he won't ignore cognac's place in his family history. At Paris's upscale department store, Le Bon Marché, Killian Hennessy's perfumes are being presented in cognac barrels. A small bottle retails for 170 euros, and for 2,000 euros, people can even take home their own barrel.
Now, the top fashion houses in Paris and around the world present their major collections in January and July every year. But more recently, in between these big shows, there are now or so-called cruise collections, which don't have such a high media profile, but they are proving more important financially for the top labels, as these shows now account for over half of their annual sales.
Chanel is presenting this year's cruise collection in Miami. The French fashion house has long been a pioneer in cruise wear. In 1991, it started designing lightweight summer clothes and skimpy evening gowns specifically for the coldest seasons of the year. These collections were designed for winter boat cruises, as travelers on luxury liners always want to sport the latest styles. Corinna Thiel is an editor for the German fashion magazine Elle. She knows how important cruise collections are to buyers of haute couture.
That was actually the original idea, to give women in Paris, New York or Milan the opportunity to dress up over the holidays, particularly in the 90s. Many women belonged to the jet set. They wanted to sport a new bikini on their yacht or wear a new evening gown to a nice event, not something that had been hanging around in the stores for 3 or 4 months.
The Bavarian city of Munich is a shopper's paradise for the well-heeled. All the big fashion houses can be found right here. One of them is German-American haute couture maker Talbot Runhof. Its brightly colored and elegant cruise collection has been on sale since November and really lives up to the name.
The clothes have to be light so you can travel with them. The idea behind the cruise collection is that you use it on trips to the sunny south, but at the same time it still needs to be wearable for those who stay in our region.
More and more fashion houses are offering between-season collections. November, December, and May, June are the peak sales months. Now Munich's upscale boutique, Theresa, is stocked exclusively with cruise and pre-season collections from well-known designers. The future for between-season collections looks bright. Many of the fashions are also up for sale on the internet. Designers hope this will increase sales. Fashion houses make up to as much as 60% of their yearly sales from between-season collections. This keeps designers, who now have to present new creations 4 times a year, on their toes. But one man is steps ahead of them all. Fashion guru Karl Lagerfeld designs as many as 14 collections a year for Chanel alone. So he has no time for a cruise.
I've got a sore hand at the moment from writing by hand loads of Christmas cards. On average, each person in Britain sends 40 cards annually, and I've continued this tradition even though I now live here in Berlin. A British civil servant called Sir Henry Cole, who incidentally was also involved in the invention of the postage stamp, came up with the idea of a card at Christmas 165 years ago.
They can be round or rectangular, traditional or modern. Some are witty, others sentimental. There's a Christmas card for almost everyone. Duncan Woodside and Aine Brown love getting Christmas cards from their friends and relatives. There's just one hitch. Most people who send cards expect one in return.
I was up, seeing my parents for the weekend, and they were just like crossing off the list of all these people they had to send a Christmas card to, and they were just huffing and puffing and swearing and, having a miserable time of it because they had to go through this huge list, which they somehow felt obliged that they had to cover. So, I guess it depends how out of hand it gets, really, doesn't it? But
yeah, I haven't actually written all mine yet, so that's on my to-do list.
Even though it takes longer for a Christmas card to arrive than an email or text message, every year the British Postal Service handles some 750 million of them. By mid-December, the Royal Mail is working flat out, and it's been that way for more than 150 years. The Geoffrey Museum in East London is showing its annual Christmas Past exhibition, which gives an insight into 400 years of seasonal traditions in English homes. Among the antiques, there are original 19th century Christmas cards. Sir Henry Cole, a British civil servant, commissioned the design for the first commercially produced Christmas card in 1843.
And the card that he designed had in the middle a Victorian family enjoying a lovely Christmas meal together. But on either side, there is the idea of thinking about those who are less fortunate than themselves at Christmas, which is a really kind of Victorian moral message.
To this day in Britain, the proceeds from many Christmas cards go to a good cause. Every winter, charity organisations such as Plan UK earn the equivalent of €25,000 from the sale of Christmas cards. Money that's earmarked to help disadvantaged children the world over.
A lot of the communities where we work, a lot of the women and the young people will maybe have to walk miles to get some drinking water, and it's not necessarily clean water. The more Christmas cards we can sell, the more money we can pour into projects that are obviously going to go further and helping more people in the communities have access to clean water, access to health, access to education.
In choosing a card, older people tend to concentrate on written messages, while younger generations look for colorful and amusing pictures. Whatever their preferences, most Britons are convinced the tradition will remain alive and well for years to come.
Today, you know, through the post we largely get bills, junk mail. Isn't it wonderful to get that very special, personalised card through the post? And that's why I think it's still popular today.
I just love receiving actual mail in the post because it's all emails now. So whenever you receive actual snail mail, it's really good.
Even after 165 years, Christmas cards have lost none of their allure in Britain. They provide a moment of reflection during the holiday season, and those who can afford to spend more time and put even more thought into them make the cards themselves.
This week saw the last concert ever by the great Austrian pianist Alfred Brendel. A man of enormous natural talent, he is largely self-taught, having only occasional piano lessons when he was growing up. He found fame, first of all, in his adopted home London, where he still lives, but the camera-shy musician gave his final performance in his beloved Vienna.
On December 18th, Alfred Brendel took to the stage at Vienna's Musikverein Concert Hall for his final performance as a concert pianist. Brendel's last concert was typical for the pianist, without pomp or cameras. But the Vienna Philharmonic was there with Charles Mackerras conducting the music of Mozart.
What's known as the Janome Concerto is actually his favorite piece by Mozart, and he's played it many times in cities around the world as part of his farewell tour. He really loves it. The second movement is especially beautiful. It's very sad and very lyrical.
Brendel's last concert was not just sold out. By last summer, thousands of names were on the waiting list.
When a great pianist retires with a concert like this, it's very moving, but also very beautiful. A great life's work.
I've missed hardly any of the concerts he's given in Vienna. I'm very excited, but on the other hand also sad, because it's his last concert. I'm very happy for him.
He played with so much feeling and so much intensity. We were really, really lucky to be here tonight.
Brendel is an idiosyncratic star whose career has spanned more than half a century. He's a masterful interpreter of Mozart, Beethoven and Schubert. But now, still arguably in his prime at age 77, he's taking his leave from the concert stage. Brendel has played under many great conductors, including the Australian Charles Mackerras. They've worked together for years. Brendel is an author as well as a pianist. He writes humorous essays and poems.
There was a pianist who developed an additional third index finger, not to play piano, although he sometimes used it discreetly during a difficult passage, but rather to point with when both hands were otherwise occupied.
Alfred Brendel's career as a concert pianist may have come to an end, but he'll continue to make public appearances as an author.
To a photographic legend now, the German-born French photographer Giselle Freund. Her father gave her a Leica camera when she was 20 years old in 1928. And within a few years, she had mastered the art and was doing photo reportages for top magazines like Time and Life. She was born here in Berlin, and to celebrate what would have been her 100th birthday, there's a biography just out and a large exhibition here too.
Giselle Freund, the queen of European photography. She became famous because of her intimate portraits of writers, such as Bertolt Brecht, André Malraux, and Samuel Beckett. Now, on the 100th anniversary of her birth, she's being honored in Berlin, her hometown, with a biography, the first ever. It was written by Bettina de Konak, who personally knew the photographer.
She's a fascinating woman, a woman who got things done. She experienced an entire century. She was a pioneer. She was courageous. She travelled across continents, spoke 4 languages, and that got me hooked.
Giselle Freund was born in Berlin in 1908. She grew up in a bourgeois Jewish family. She studied sociology in Frankfurt and belonged to a left-wing student group. It was there that she took her first photos at demonstrations. After the Nazis came to power in 1933, she fled to Paris.
In the early phase of her life in Frankfurt, politics played a large role, but at the same time she came to see the dangers of politics, and especially the lies that she saw in Paris. That negative side of politics made her, not too much later, say that politics is of no interest to me. I'm interested in people, especially writers.
In Paris, Freund photographed the most famous authors of her day, such as James Joyce. Not in a studio, as was common at the time, but at their homes. Simone de Beauvoir on her sofa. Freund was one of the first photographers to use color film in 1938. And candid shots, like this one here of Virginia Woolf, were important to her.
This photo was taken without her seeing herself or even thinking about it. It's a dreamy look, completely inward-looking. And I wasn't sure what she was thinking, but I caught it. I think it's something very, very rare.
In 1947, Giselle Freund was one of the first photographers to join the independent photo agency Magnum. Her first job, shooting photos of Evita Perón, the wife of the controversial Argentinian president. Her work showed the ambition and the luxury, and embarrassed the government. Freund had to leave the country. She went to Mexico, where she found in painter Frida Kahlo a dear friend.
Their characters were very similar. They smoked, they drank, they grabbed life by the horns. This intensity of living was what they had in common, and a love of art.
In the 1950s, Giselle Freund carefully documented Berlin. On the 100th anniversary of her birth, her photos of her hometown are on exhibit. Wiedersehen mit Berlin is the current exhibit in the German capital. It includes Freund shots of the people, shops, and streets of Berlin from 1957 to 1962. Visitors love it.
I really like that these pictures aren't staged. They seem very real because they show people in everyday life. Like this one, the people are looking at what they can find in the shops in the post-war era, just the normality of everyday life. She was able to capture that moment.
Giselle Freund died in 2000, a courageous photographer determined to show people and their lives as realistically as possible.
And those were some of our highlights this week on Euromaxx. If you want to see a part of the show again, or indeed all of it, you'll find us on YouTube. Once you're on the YouTube site, just type in DWTV, then English, then Euromaxx with double X, don't forget, and there's loads to choose from. Bye-bye.
Up on the outside. That's what we want here, so I have to creatively achieve that.
Photographer and food stylist work closely together on photo shoots. Every detail, every lighting effect has to be just right. The champagne has to foam at exactly the right moment. A bit of sugar helps. Making the product seductive, alluring, promising, that's what a successful photograph does. The next subject, a crayfish salad for the deli counter. First, Andreas breaks it down into its ingredients. Then he remakes it with fresh ones. That way, the individual items show up better in the photo. He doesn't cheat on anything. Clients are happy to be dazzled, but not to be fooled. Andreas's creed, every ingredient must be edible.
Ich versuche schon alles mit Lebensmitteln. As much as I can, I work with food products, or with real food color, which I like too. You can see that with marzipan bread, which discolors so easily. That I can justify. But if you get into anything artificial, I'm not interested. If chocolate is called for, I use chocolate, not motor oil.
The pictures have to make you hungry, and at the same time, the dish has to look just like the photo. Buyers have been known to count every crayfish tail. Everything in the photo is arranged with surgical precision. Only the perfect picture will stay in the customer's mind as representing a certain brand. Andreas specializes in television commercials, the mark of distinction for any food stylist. Few are very successful in Germany. With stressful shoots and constantly changing production crews, a good stylist has to be an expert at improvisation. Andreas is a trained cook, so it's easier for him.
Very often we need a quick solution to a problem. And at times like this, you need to be able to reach into your grab bag of basic knowledge. What goes with fish? You have to know all kinds of side dishes, garnishes and sauces. It's great if you have that in your background.
Not only does attractive food appeal to the appetite, we also know how we expect good food to look. Some kinds of cheese should have holes, and that's that. We don't care how they got there. Andreas travels all over the world, creating appealing pictures for cookbooks, ads, and food packaging. He's constantly on the lookout for new ways to show food in its most beautiful light.
And those were some of our highlights this week on Euromaxx. If you want to see a part of the show again, or indeed all of it, you'll find us on YouTube. Once you're on the YouTube site, just type in DWTV, then English, then Euromaxx with double X, don't forget, and there's loads to choose from. Bye-bye.